If you could go back in time, you could either vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. Who would you rather vote for?
Definitely Trump.
Okay. And real question, right? Like, what point did Matt beat Adam on?
I actually didn't watch the entire video, but I saw a clip, and he said like I think he was trying to compare January 6th to like the worst thing that happened in the world. So definitely disagree with that.
I didn't say it was the worst thing that ever happened in the world. The topic was political violence, and I said January 6th is the most threatening act of political violence in modern
Oh
American
yeah,
history because it was an attempted coup to change the results of an election,
oh
which
yeah,
is true.
that was an unhinged day. So.
And that entire segment was me educating Matt on what actually happened on January 6th, which he was unaware of.
But yeah, I just don't think that January 6th you could say is like the worst thing that happened in American history. I just think that's
I said
ridiculous.
modern American history in terms of political violence that was the biggest threat to America, which is true.
I think that the left,
I specifically
the
said in the
left,
last couple of decades when I was talking to Matt. So
yeah, I think the left has far and away committed more political
when
violence.
did the left attempt to coup the government?
I think the left has many times enacted political violence in this country. So I think that like one instance is like a drop in the bucket.
A Tesla catching on fire versus an attempted coup of the U.S. government, I don't hold those in the same regard. So when has the
You
left
know,
ever tried to
Tesla's setting on
coup
fire, rioting. You
the
know,
U.S. government?
like
Yeah,
blowing
one thing
things
I
up.
wanted to
Like I think
bring up
that's
is that these
far
weren't these weren't qualified into that particular like overlook and study because they're nonviolent, right? Those Tesla attacks did not lead to like lethality,
It's
non-violent.
and
You
fan
so
based.
they
firebombing somebody's Tesla
or
is
not. I didn't mean
non-violent.
to say nonviolent. I meant to say non-lethal. That's what I meant to say.
Not okay. That's hilarious. So okay,
That's true. They
so
looked at lethal
non-lethal.
violence. That's particular analysis that they were
So like if
having a
you destroy
conversation
somebody's
about.
property, you just don't consider that in your mind. That's not in your moral code to consider like doing that or like I
No,
saw like
it's
they were
violence.
like
I didn't mean to say that it was nonviolent. I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say that it was non-lethal.
I mean, but when your data sets are admitting that, I mean, I can't really take your data seriously if you're just saying, oh,
Do you think counting a
that.
handful of Tesla would have changed the massive discrepancy between right wing and left wing violence that's shown in like virtually every single study on this, whether it's the Cato study, the CSIS study, even Trump's own DHS in his first term said that there's a real risk of right wing political violence in this country?
I like how like every single left-wing argument is like, well, what did this guy say? Because like
No,
I've
no, no.
seen
What
many
did this
debunking
study
comments.
say? What did these officials with expertise say?
I've seen so much manipulation in these data sets. I mean, I don't think I can really just take your word at face value. I'm sorry.
Okay, so what manipulation have you seen in data sets?
I've seen prison gang violence be counted as quote unquote right-wing violence. I've seen Islamists be counted as
Wait. In what
right-wing
study?
violence. I believe it was the Cato thing, wasn't it?
No, the Cato study did not do that. What are you talking about?
Once again, I don't necessarily have all these at the top of my head, but I do
Just
remember
why
like
are you
in
picking
like
issues
most
with the methodology of studies if you don't even know which study you're trying to critique right now?
so I'm supposed to know
No,
each
you're
and
not.
every
You're not
study
supposed.
off the
If
top
you're
of my head.
making a point, then yes, you are supposed to know. If you didn't
Well,
make
I'm
that
just
point, I wouldn't ask you that
referencing. I'm just
question.
reference. Okay, I'm just referencing what I've seen from data sets. It's not like I know each and every single institution and what they're
What I'm
counting.
saying to you is you can nitpick any methodological error with any study, but when multiple studies from multiple different groups all show the exact same outcome, despite having different methodological issues, like the CSIS issues are going to be different than the Cato issues, et cetera, and you're assuming that every issue undercounts right wing violence, I'm sure there's also examples of them undercounting left wing violence as well, like on both sides, right? When you have multiple studies, multiple administrations, including Republican administrations, that all say the primary source of political violence in this country up until 2025 was the right wing. You can't just deny that because you don't like it.
Well, I can deny it because I've seen the methodology
Well,
be,
sure, you can deny it, but you'd
flawed.
be wrong to deny it then. I'll clarify.
I know, but you're just kind of source dumping right now.
I'm referencing studies, I'm referencing specific examples.
I get that, and once again, I'm referencing manipulation that I've personally seen. So, like, can you just agree that this is like
Well,
kind of a
you
flawed?
haven't personally seen manipulation of data.
I
You
haven't.
probably saw
You
political
just claimed
commentators
that
say
you
that.
saw manipulation. That wasn't just like we asked you for like a specific where you saw
Oh yeah,
manipulation.
like
You
I've
couldn't
I've
bring it up.
seen specifically in these studies, like the George Floyd riots, like things such as like racial riots not be counted. So
What? I mean, again, those would be counted under left wing violence if there were specifically violence involved, like the particular
that in
cases of
an ideal
violence.
world, that would be the case. But once again, like
No,
I'm just attesting to
well,
what
I
I've
don't know
seen.
what specific one you're referencing that this wasn't taken into account.
The Cato Institute, the ADL,
The Cato Institute and
Okay.
the ADL did not say that.
Also, if you don't trust them, what about Trump's own Department of Homeland Security?
his own Department of Homeland Security. How are
Yes,
you
in his
referring to?
first term, said that right wing violence, especially white nationalist violence, represents the greatest threat in terms of political violence.
I mean, I'm sure that's his opinion, but.
No. That's not an opinion. That's an expert.
That is his opinion. You said
The
he said that right
the
that
opinion
white
based on
nationalists.
what? It's not just an opinion if it's based on actual
It doesn't
evidence.
matter what it's based on. It's an opinion.
It doesn't matter what it's based on.
Yes, it doesn't matter what it's based on. If he's
Okay, I think,
dropping an opinionated
call
statement,
me crazy. I think if something's based on evidence, it ought to be taken seriously. Maybe you
I
disagree.
mean,
That's fine.
like what is everything's based on evidence? Is the evidence correct? No.
Not everything's based on evidence. None of Trump's claims recently have been based on evidence. The claim that the left is more violent than the right is not based on evidence. See the difference?
Okay, but that's both of it's opinionated though.
And one
So you're
opinion is
not
based
missing.
on evidence and one isn't, and you don't see the distinction there, which explains a lot about your argument.
Okay, but once again, that's just your opinion, is it not?
So true.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so ridiculous point. So
But that's
that's
just your
just the whole
opinion, though.
thing.
That's a ridiculous point. That's your opinion.
But we're just giving each other opinions. So like,
No, but
oh,
that's
right,
your
white
opinion that we're
nationalists,
giving
violent.
each other opinions, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm not the one trying to
No,
moralize.
but no, that's your opinion. You don't know. You don't know. It's your opinion.
Yeah, but I'm not the one trying to moralize and trying to act like,
Well,
opinions
it's
are
your
like
opinion that you're not trying to
illegal.
moralize. I think you are trying to moralize. That's my opinion.
I'm not trying to, I don't care. I just care about the facts. So
No, but that's your opinion that you don't care.
sure.
See how annoying that is?
I mean, but it's the game that you're
Okay,
playing. I mean,
thanks.
it's what you're bringing up first. So I
Okay.
mean, yeah. I mean, but you
And
got bodies.
you
So
still never answered the initial topic you brought up. What aspect, what example of left-wing violence in the last 2 decades was more of a threat to America than January 6th? We have yet to hear an example. I'll save you the trouble. There isn't one.
well, I mean, like after the Roe v. Wade situation, like we saw like we see Kavanaugh get attacked. We've seen like
I said
people trying
something
to
that
storm
represented a
the
greater threat than January 6th.
well, I thought you meant like left wing violence examples.
Yes, left-wing violence that represented a greater threat than January 6th to America. Was there another
Well, if it's
attempt at coup I
happening,
didn't hear of?
so hold on. So it has to be by the specific criteria of quote unquote attempted coup, or else the left wing
No.
violence.
Not. Maybe someone tried to the entire United States and succeeded. I mean, I'm here, so I'm going to assume that didn't happen. But just any example of political violence from the left that was more serious than January 6th in the last 2 decades.
More serious, like just one example. Well, it has to be one example. I can't count multiple.
Dude, you can do whatever you want. Just give me something here.
But I would just say like in multiple instances of left wing violence, I would categorize as more important and more of a threat to this country than just the one instance of January 6th.
Okay, what's one of those?
Well, like I said off the top of my head, I would do the riots in the summer of 2020. I would do the riots right
Okay,
now. I
let's
would do
compare those. Let's compare those. On the 2020 debate stage, Joe Biden said a million times that he disavows all violence and that the protests should be peaceful, as the vast, vast majority of them were peaceful. To the extent that people looted, you're assuming that they looted for political reasons. What about people that just wanted to loot, took advantage of the protest to loot, and they weren't actually ideologically doing that? Versus look at Trump. Trump didn't condemn January 6th. He pardoned the perpetrators, and as it was happening, he was happy about it.
Okay, see, this is the problem that I have with liberals. Like you like to bring up this like really like niche point about, oh well, a Democrat is about this, but if Democrats are constantly
How
like
is it a
overstating
niche
stuff,
point?
it's a niche point because it's irrelevant. Of
The
course they're going to say
political
that.
leader of the
Of course
side
they're
you're
going to say.
accusing of violence,
Of course
disavowing
they're
the
going to put
violence is a
oh, he put
random
a
point?
PR statement out. He put a PR statement out. So therefore, I must, say that, oh, the left is fine because Joe Biden
No.
put out
Just
a
so we're
PR statement.
clear, Biden condemned violence at protests. Trump never condemned January 6th. Is that just a
Biden,
random argument?
Biden pardoned in Portland like multiple rioters who attacked Capitol buildings, and they were leftist Antifa members,
Such
I
as?
believe. So
Okay,
what?
give us examples of
Give us
this.
examples, because like there was no
I
one
believe
that
they were
committing
protesting
violence.
ICE right
There
after
was no
Biden got elected.
there was no person that was committing violence that Biden particularly pardoned.
Well, right after he was elected, there were protests in Portland, right, about ICE, and
If it was a protest, then
the
yes,
protests were
he would have pardoned people just protesting, but not
okay,
people
but they
committing
were they were
violence.
attacking federal buildings though.
By doing what?
What?
By doing what?
What do you mean by doing what?
How were they attacking the buildings?
I mean, I don't recall, but I remember they were putting up picket signs. They were like doing what they normally do, just attacking federal.
They were
Hold
putting
on.
up signs.
Wait 1 second.
At a
You guys
protest, they put up signs.
not just put. I mean, like they literally attack federal agents. You can look the situation up, man.
By doing
I
what?
don't.
What do they do?
What they attack officers
But what? How do they
It's
attack
called-
them? With words?
with words. Look, once again, I don't recall the entire situation, but he pardoned them. They obviously they would have had to commit a
Why do you
crime,
keep
right?
bringing up situations that you don't recall as like your key
Hold
piece
on.
of evidence when you're debating us?
If they were
Maybe bring up something
arrested,
you do recall if you're going to make an argument.
okay, wait, hold on. But see this: if they were pardoned, would that not mean that they committed a crime?
Say it again.
If they were pardoned, would that not mean that they committed a crime?
By being pardoned by definition, you committed a crime if you're being
Yes.
pardoned of the crime.
So they were criminals. So Biden pardoned criminals, right? Who protested, who were Antifa.
Did
who were
we
protesting.
forget my initial point? Which is,
What is
can
the
you
point?
list something that is worse than January 6th from the left and still I've heard
I
nothing?
was okay. I was listing multiple points, and then you like.
Yeah, but okay, how are the BLM quote unquote riots, they were protests, how are those worse than January 6th?
How were those worse than January 6th? Well, people's property were being burned down. You know, American citizens were actually hurting.
Okay,
This
so
insanity.
let me ask you this. What is more of a threat to this country? Property damage or a coup?
Property damage, people being murdered, and probably
That's more serious than an attempted coup.
If it happens consistently from the left, I would say that that's more of a danger.
What?
Okay. Okay, we have a fundamental disagreement. If you think the collapse of the American experiment and us becoming a failed state is less of a big deal than the BLM protest, you're free to make that argument.
You guys literally want to abolish ICE. You want to abolish the entire system we have. I mean,
ICE is doing domestic terror right now, so yeah.
it's doing
Yeah,
domestic terror by
yeah. When ICE is specifically violating people's Fourth Amendment rights, right? I definitely think that's an issue. They're not identifying themselves. They're literally not utilizing warrants. They're stripping people out of their communities who have not committed violent crimes and bad crimes that have been working in their communities for generations, in some circumstances for 20 plus years in some circumstances, that have built entire lives and families here.
So I have a question. So what would be your solution to the millions of illegals that were imported in here like illegally?
So undocumented immigrants that are in the country that have not committed a violent crime or bad crime should be given a pathway to
really don't
citizenship
care.
where they
I
don't
really
have to
don't.
leave the country.
Can you say that again?
Undocumented immigrants who have not committed a violent crime or bad crime should be given a pathway to citizenship where they do not have to leave the country.
Why should they be given a pathway to citizenship?
Because they do not harm this country by being given a pathway to citizenship. Our current legal process takes too long, so we want to incentivize people to go through said legal process, and we want to ensure that the most amount of people who are already in the country are vetted.
So millions of illegal immigrants should be just rewarded for immigrating illegally.
Why are you calling these people illegal immigrants? Just so we're clear, when you talk about the influx of people during Biden, like more than half of these were legal asylum seekers.
Yes.
I don't consider asylum seeking to be like you can call it.
You don't
legal.
consider
They are
asylum seeking
documented in the
a
immigration
legal
court
process
system.
when it is?
Okay, but like this is it's basically like feeding the bear, right? Like you just hold out a bunch of food and then all the immigrants come over.
No, not true. If you come to the border and you claim asylum, you have to pass a credible fear interview, which only about half of them
Yep.
pass. And then even after that, you have to see an immigration judge, and they're only granted asylum 30% of the time. I did the math on this on my stream once. For every 100 people that show up to the border claiming asylum, at the end, only 19 get it.
But aren't they like let into like staying at like in a so-called sanctuary city?
What? No
Aren't
one
they
gets
asylum
let
seekers?
in. You have to pass a credible fear interview to even get in.
Yeah, but
Otherwise,
like
they turn you back.
did he not let people in to seek asylum?
Under the
Who
legal
passed
process,
the
yeah, we'd have
interview,
enough
yeah.
judges to
So they were
adjudicate
let
their
in.
cases.
So they were let in
Legally.
legally?
Yes.
Okay, I guess that's where we fundamentally disagree. I guess.
You disagree with
so
the
but-
Immigration and Nationality Act?
Yeah, like,
What?
I mean, sorry, you disagree with us on a fact that it was legal.
I disagree
you can say
with a lot.
you can say you think it shouldn't be legal. That's a fair point to make, which we would disagree with, of course. But the point that we're saying is that like you can't disagree with us on the facts. This makes no sense.
Disagree on what fact?
It was legal.
Technically legal, yes.
Okay, so then why are you saying illegal immigration?
I still don't see how this overall has anything to do with the entire point of like, what would you do about the millions and millions
I
of illegal?
literally answered every single thing of what I would do. Do you want me to say again?
But you said a legal pathway to citizenship, right?
Yeah, for people who are in the country have not committed a violent crime or bad crime and are here undocumented.
And then I asked you why should they be given a pathway to citizenship?
Yeah, and I described. And did you hear my description?
I would love to hear it again.
I want the most people to be vetted as possibly we can. It's best for the economy because I want to increase the level of population. The current legal immigration process takes too long. So if it is the case that they went through said legal immigration process, if they have not committed a violent crime or bad crime, it's likely that they would have been allowed to stay anyway or to go through said legal process. So in efforts to make the legal process go quicker, for people who are already in the country undocumented and for people who are going through the legal process, that would be required.
Okay, so for you, everyone who's here right now, we should just say, ICE, just stop what you're doing. Just let everyone
Who
in.
has not committed a violent crime or bad crime. Still deport people on the condition that they're going to be put in a prison in another country if they have committed a violent crime and bad crime.
All right, I disagree with that. But so then on to the next point. Would you agree with shutting off all immigration and all illegal immigration, or are you like, or what is your position on that?
Say that again.
Like, what is your position on then like further immigration enforcement after that?
Okay, if we get to a point that we have a quick legal immigration process, that means everyone who would be going through the process undocumented would not qualify to the set of criteria that I've mentioned, meaning that they would specifically be someone who has committed a violent crime or bad crime or has that type of criminal history, meaning that we would deport them.
Okay, I just fundamentally like this is why I just disagree with you guys' immigration policy, because you want to admit people just willy nilly, right? Like I just
Well, right now we're also just talking about following the law, like law and order, right? That's ICE is not doing that right now.
We're
Neither
just
is
letting
Trump.
millions of illegal immigrants
Also,
in.
I have a
law and
question.
order.
So if
That's
someone
law
is trying
and
to
order.
if someone is trying to legally immigrate to the country and they were held civilly liable, would you let them legally enter the country?
I see. I sense this is a very loaded question, but probably not.
You wouldn't?
Well, what country were they from?
Does it matter what country they're coming from?
Yes,
Really? Tell me. What country could they come from where you'd let them come into the country?
probably a non-third world country.
Okay, so like if they were held civilly liable in, say, for example, Germany, you would let someone immigrate to this country from Germany if they were held civilly liable.
Well, why does it matter what I would do though? What about the law?
Okay,
don't
I'm
give a
asking
fuck
you
about
what
the
you
law.
think the law should be.
I mean, but you're asking me about what I think, right? Like, obviously, I think that I would.
Really? Yeah, I'm
like,
asking.
I would
I'm
have to see-
asking a
I would
person.
have
I'm
to see the
debating
case.
what they think. Really, dude?
I would
No.
have to
Wow.
see I would have to see the case, but I don't think it's a matter of think. I think it's a matter of law, and depending on what the law
I'm
says, I would
asking
go
what
back.
you think the law should be, dude.
What I think the law should be, like as if I'm like the president or something.
Yeah, like if you were the president, dictator of the country,
Well, yeah, if I was the president, I wouldn't let anybody in. So,
you would do no immigration.
well, I would do selective immigration. Actually, my bad. Right, I would do selective.
Okay,
like
so would
that.
you let someone held civilly liable of enter the country legally?
Well, I would have to see the case, like I said before, right? Because we
You
know a
would
lot of
let-
lying happens.
So you would let some people held civilly liable of legally enter the country?
Yeah, like I mean, like
Wow.
is held.
He just said, "Yeah,
What?
that's crazy."
What?
Bro is nicer to people that are civilly held liable for than like actual asylum seekers.
Well, at least they tried to come legally. So I mean,
The asylum process is legal, dude.
I do not. The asylum process is not legal.
Yes,
it
it
is.
is.
You don't even know how the asylum process works.
Dude.
Explain to me how it works.
Explain to me how it works. Explain to me how it works. Then.
Do you know? You're the one who's complaining about it. I already explained.
Explain it. Explain it.
You show up to a port of entry or other point at the border. You go to someone at Border Patrol and say, hey, I'd like to claim asylum. Then you have to pass a credible fear interview. And only if you pass that interview are you scheduled for a court date at immigration court.
And are you trying to tell me that you like were in a coma and you didn't like see how that was abused?
How would that be abused if, again, for every 100 people that show up, 19 of them are actually
It's
getting
abused
asylum?
because thousands of people are showing up at the border trying to seek asylum.
Okay.
And when you have Democratic governors saying, "Hey guys, maybe we should stop all this,"
We actually had Democrats in the Congress trying to pass a law that made asylum, I'd actually disagree with part of it, that made asylum harder to get and would have hired more immigration judges because this was an efficiency problem. And if Trump cared so much about government efficiency, he wouldn't have come in and fired all the same immigration judges that have to adjudicate these cases. He wouldn't be sending ICE to immigration courthouses where people are following the rules. Despite knowing that Trump is doing this, they're doing the right thing. They're choosing to be brave and go to immigration court. They're still getting detained by ICE.
But did you know, like those resolutions, like that you're talking about, like those would have admitted so many immigrants in at one time, right? That was a Trojan horse.
Which resolutions?
The one that you're talking about, that bill, right?
That bill was like very tough on immigration. There's like left-wing criticism of that bill, if anything. What are you talking
Left-wing
about?
criticism doesn't mean anything, right? Like I don't.
It's just an opinion.
Well,
right?
there's like really far left people who like consider like Joe Biden like a fascist.
Well,
So
no. It wasn't super far left people. It was saying that they're making asylum harder to seek. They're making it easier to turn down asylum claims, and they're also hiring and beefing up border patrol. The
and it would have
one of
let
the best
in.
aspects of that bill, though, was hiring more immigration judges, so that when someone comes here to claim asylum, they're not waiting for 3 years in limbo.
Yeah, but we don't want an immigration process that lets people in like
Yes,
that
I don't know
quickly.
who we is. Every single poll on this shows that people do want asylum seekers to come here and seek
Well,
asylum.
not the right. So I mean, like that's
No,
your
the
opinion.
American
Well,
public
I have
in
a
general.
question. If you were in the country during World War II, right, and people were trying to immigrate to our country, fleeing from the, would you let them legally enter our country?
Uh,
Would you let them seek asylum in our country?
well, probably not. Once again, like, do you disagree with? Do
Let the
you,
German guy who was held liable for German guy gets to come in, but not the actual refugees.
oh, but like, bro, this
No,
is
he just
interesting.
said victims shouldn't be allowed into our country. If you knew that they would be, if you do not
Well,
let
if I
them
knew that they
legally,
would be, if I
if you
like
knew that
now
they
you're
would,
adding that
if you
in,
knew
if
that
I
they
It's
would
knew
be,
not. That's already the standard to get asylum in this
yeah,
country.
yeah, no, seriously, I'm serious. Like for people who are trying to come to our country, who are fleeing the, they were at threat of dying, because if they were sent back to the
nobody knew
country
that.
they were fleeing from, that would be the country that's trying to exterminate them.
So Palestinians should have let Jews in. That's your opinion. So like they should have just let all the Jews in and then just acceded to like
They didn't
having a
even
like.
have sovereignty.
We're
Britain let
talking
them in.
about in the United States.
But you're talking about if I was the leader of the country, but like I wanna apply this to the other place that had that happen. Like so you would have shamed the Palestinians for not wanting people in. Is what you're saying?
It's not no, that's specifically the establishment of an ethno state, right, without the rights of the of people, or if it's legal
But did you agree
immigration,
with
right, if,
Jewish? Did you agree with Jewish immigration there?
what'd you say?
Do you agree? Did you agree with Jewish immigration
I
in Palestine?
disagree with establishing a Jewish ethno state based
So
upon
so you,
apartheid
you
and colonialization.
but did okay?
That's
So you're
not what I'm
dodging the
arguing
point.
for.
You're dodging.
I'm saying Jewish refugees to the United States.
But so you agree with Jewish? So you disagree with it in one place, but you agree. But in the United States, I have to agree with it.
I think you should agree with it in the United States.
I think
Yes.
that's insanely hypocritical. I think that's insanely
How?
You're
hypocritical.
making a false equivalency here.
It's not
You
a false
understand that
equivalency.
when Jewish people started immigrating to what was called the British Mandate for Palestine, the Palestinian people were not the ones letting them in. It was the British government who had sovereignty over that area.
Yes.
And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, if you gave the Palestinian people a state and sovereignty, they probably would have accepted refugees.
Okay, but they knew they were going to die. Like remember, I mean, oh,
No, this
can I say
started
that?
in the 1880s. They knew this.
But for when you said
And
that,
again, notice how you never answered Parker's question or my question. You
but
just
you
brought up
you
something
know that
else
they're going
to
to, but you
deflect,
know that
to
they're going
deflect
to,
from the point.
you know they're going to be victims, but you won't let them into Palestine. That's rich to me. Okay,
Wait,
I literally just said the opposite.
yeah,
didn't say the opposite.
if specifically we were living there, we would be okay with them immigrating to the country, given that it's immigration. There's a difference between immigration and stealing and taking people's land. And
Like settler colonialism, yeah.
yeah, there's a huge distinction between immigration and that.
I think that's a forced distinction. They immigrated to
Hold on.
Palestine.
What?
Between colonizing a land to establish a state versus within the format of a country's
That,
rules
that happened.
applying for asylum.
That happened years. Okay, so like, so you don't, so you disagree with all of the immigration that happened to Israel itself, right? During the, so like all the
Are you
programs.
like not hearing what we're saying right now?
Who granted
just
the
saying, I'm
authority?
just trying to
It
get
was
about what you
specifically
disagree.
colonizers that granted the authority, not specifically the people that were living there. And again, like what Adam said already, is that if the people were living there had that determination, they would have taken, right, people in terms of immigrants and people who are migrating. So I don't know why we're talking about this when we're asking you about the context of the United States. Given
Well,
that
it's
we've
because
already
you said
addressed
that
this,
you know that they're going to be unalive, and and then now you're trying to backtrack in one
yeah,
area,
I'm asking
then
you.
force me to push into a position in the other.
I'm asking you, do you think that we should have specifically taken in Jewish refugees during the...
I think that just like Palestine, we had a right to not take immigrants in.
I'm
That's
asking
what
you, what do you think that we should have done?
what do you think? I think we should have done exactly what Palestine did and everyone else did, and say, hey, like I agree, I see what's going on, but I can't help you.
Okay. So you're saying that you would let people who are Jewish die, right? Well, because you would not provide them a pathway to the United States when we could, when it would have no negative impact on our country, when actually the immigration of people who are Jewish coming to our country was actually very positive